Commission Christian Radio presents The Seventh Son, the story of King David of Israel, written for radio in 13 episodes by Colm Flanagan. Episode 1 is entitled Chosen.
It's not easy being the brother of one of the most famous kings ever to live on this earth. I say that with feeling, because that's what I was, and am, if only for a little longer. You'll want to know who the most famous king was. His name was David. He was the second king of Israel, the one who secured its borders and made it great. Many songs were written about him, and he wrote many himself. Of course, he was more than a songwriter. He was a superb general. And he could love just as well as he could fight. His wives, well, most of them, could attest to that. But he had his flaws too, did my brother David. This, as best I can recall it, is his story. And my name? That's not important. Just call me the seventh son. You'll see why later. The story begins many years ago when one day our father Jesse received an unexpected visitor in the village where we lived.
Samuel, what brings you here? Is something wrong?
Wrong, my dear Jesse? Should there be?
Well, it's not often we get a visit from the prophet of the Lord, and I just wondered.
No, don't worry yourself, Jesse. Your village elders had the same question when I met them earlier. Oh, there's nothing wrong with you or your people. But I have something important to talk to you about. May I come to your house?
Yes, of course. I'll arrange for you to have some food and drink.
I'd appreciate that. It has been a dusty journey from Saul's court. And then we need somewhere quiet to talk.
Samuel, our visitor on that fateful day, was the chief prophet of the Lord in the country. It had been he who anointed the king, Saul, and he was Saul's closest adviser. When the Lord spoke, he spoke through Samuel. But, as he told my father that day, all was not well in the kingdom.
I have news for you, Jesse, which for now must not be told to anyone else. Do I have your word?
Well, yes, but why me? I'm not in the king's council.
No, not officially, yet. But you are one who trusts in the Lord, aren't you?
Yes, I am, as are all my family.
Since the time of your great-grandparents, Boaz and Ruth, which is why I have come to you today.
Because of my ancestors?
Well, let me explain a bit more fully. We have a king in Israel today because the people wanted one. It was not the Lord's wish. However, he gave me the job finding and then anointing King Saul. And all went well at first, but Jesse, Saul has disobedience in him. He does not always listen to the Lord, and this has happened more than once. Too often, I fear. As a result, the Lord has told me that Saul will be replaced.
Replaced? But how?
I don't know yet. I have no doubt that the Lord will tell me when he is ready.
But surely the kingship will pass to one of Saul's sons. Jonathan, perhaps. I hear he's a good lad.
You're thinking of the way other people's kings behave. No, we are different. The king is the Lord's servant, and the Lord has told me clearly that the line of Saul will not go beyond him. The Lord has also told me that the kingship will go to one of the line of Ruth and Boaz, and you, Jesse, are of that line.
But I have no desire to be king. I wouldn't know where to start.
Relax, Jesse. Don't look so worried. It's not to be you, but one of your sons.
Which one?
Well, I don't know yet, but that is my mission today. I need to meet all of your sons. The Lord will tell me which one he has chosen, and I will anoint him. But, and this is important, news of this must not reach Saul. There is no knowing how he might react, although I can guess. So don't tell your sons why I'm here. At least, not the real reason. Just bring them before me, one by one. Now, let us seek the Lord's guidance.
So my father Jesse sent word to all of us that each in turn would be interviewed by the prophet Samuel. I don't know what the others thought at the time, but I didn't really believe the reason given, that Samuel was looking for a new servant. After all, if a prophet wanted a servant, he'd know exactly what he wanted. He'd hardly have to go through a whole interview process to find one. And why come all the way to our little village when the city was full of likely people? We all had our own thoughts, but we were told strictly to talk to no one about this, so of course we didn't. When my turn came, the old prophet just asked my name. I told him. Then there was a pause while he looked very intently at me. Then...
No, Jesse, he is not the one.
Thank you, son. You may go. And remember, don't go telling this around the place.
As if there was much to tell. I left, still puzzled. But I put it from my mind and got on with my work. What I didn't hear was the conversation that took place after I'd left.
So I've seen all your sons. They're a credit to you, Jesse. Fine young men. But none of them is the one I seek. I don't understand.
I see.
Perhaps I've been mistaken. I must speak to the Lord about this. Yet I am sure he quite clearly told me...
Samuel, a moment.
Yes?
This may sound a bit silly, but when you said you wanted to see my sons, I assumed you meant the grown ones, the sort of boys who'd make a king and a leader soon. I have one other son, but he's only a young lad and he's out with the sheep.
Jesse, send for him at once.
A servant was sent to find David, the youngest son. And then, when the boy came in...
This is the Lord's anointed. This boy will be the next king of Israel. Call the others and the elders to witness.
There and then, in front of us all, the prophet Samuel poured holy oil on David's head in recognition of the fact that he was the Lord's chosen one. Then he left. At the time, I don't think any of us brothers or anybody else really realised what was going on. I thought that maybe David was going to be a priest in the Lord's tent, joining the Levites who did all the ceremonial stuff as a sort of religious trainee, or maybe a prophet like Samuel himself. But chosen one could also mean a future king. But that was hardly likely. After all, David was just a kid, and we already had a good king, Saul. Time passed, and the incident was largely, though not completely, forgotten, because at the court events were moving in a way that was to bring David and King Saul into contact, with momentous consequences for both of them.
Am I to go thirsty and hungry forever? Where is the food and drink I ordered?
Your Majesty, I'm coming as quickly as I can. I've brought you your favourite wine and meat.
What took you so long?
Your Majesty, I prepared the food myself, just as Your Majesty likes.
Yes. Well, bring it here. What is this?
Your Majesty?
This is not what I wanted.
But Your Majesty said...
Fool! Get out of here and take this rubbish with you. Am I surrounded by fools and knaves? Send for Abner. Quickly, what are you waiting for?
Yes, Your Majesty.
For some reason, Saul, king of Israel, was becoming more and more bad-tempered. Never an easy man to get on with. His mood swung violently and sometimes fatally for anyone who happened to be in his path. He began to imagine plots against him. The situation worried his closest family friends at the court.
What are we to do, Abner? He trusts you so far because he knows you're his best soldier.
And you, Jonathan, as his son and heir. Did you suggest seeing a doctor? I don't think these moods are normal.
Oh, I tried, but no luck at all. He won't even listen to Samuel the prophet. You'd think he would pay attention to him, but he doesn't. For some reason, he seems to mistrust Samuel more than anyone now. Yet they used to be so close.
Does anything calm him down?
Well, the only thing I've noticed, oddly enough, is music.
Music?
Yes, one evening there was a harpist playing, and he looked more relaxed than ever I've seen him recently.
I wonder.
What?
What if we could find some harp player, a really good one? Then at least we could keep him calm enough while we try and make decisions about the country. We're powerless while these tempers are on him. He'll kill someone someday.
Right. Let's see if we can find a musician who's willing to come and play here at court.
They sent out messengers around the countryside to look for a harpist, but before they could find anyone suitable, other national events led to a major crisis. The army was called up, and the king's bad tempers had to be put to one side. Once again, we went to war with the Philistines. They were a warlike people, and were among the original inhabitants of the land. They'd been beaten many times before, but always seemed to manage to pop up again, bigger and nastier than before. So our army was again forced to take the field against them. Although I wasn't keen on soldiering, I joined some of the others, and we had moved out to a valley nearby under King Saul to fight the Philistines. But this time there was a difference. His name was Goliath of Gath.
You sad people! Why are you bothering to line up your pathetic army? I tell you what, I'm the best in our army, so choose your best soldier to come out and fight me. If he can kill me, our people will be your slaves. But if I kill him, then you will be our slaves. How about it? Here and now, I challenge you. Choose a champion to come out and fight me, you cowards.
This Goliath was no ordinary soldier. He had a big mouth, sure, but that wasn't the half of it. He was over 3 meters tall, a giant of a man. And he wasn't just tall, he was massive. He was armoured all over, even his legs. His chest armour weighed over 50 kilograms. He wore a great sword, and his spear matched his huge size also. A soldier walked in front of him with his shield. In Saul's tent, a hasty council of war was summoned.
Well, what are we going to do? Any ideas?
Your Majesty, our men are demoralised and frightened of this man.
Yes, I can see that well enough. So what are your plans, Abner, as army chief?
I don't think we should respond to his taunts. After all, there is an old saying, sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me.
Very good, Abner, suitable for school playtime, but hardly a strategy that makes sense. We can't just sit here and wait for Goliath to die of old age. And despite your saying, his words do hurt. You said yourself that the men are demoralised. A few more days of this and some of them will start creeping off back to their families and fields. Admit it.
It is true that there is some talk among the men.
So why don't you go out and fight this Goliath?
Well, I don't think it is my place.
No, I thought not. Is there no one in Israel who will rid me of this Philistine?
It seemed there wasn't, and every day that passed, Goliath made his taunts, and the Israelites grew more and more despondent. 3 of David's older brothers were warriors in the army. I was really just there as a general helper, and like the rest, they had no desire to face Goliath in open combat. But unknown to us, help was on the way, and from a most unlikely source.
In episode 1 of The Seventh Son, the narrator and seventh son was played by John Lander, and other parts were played by members of the Commission radio drama team. The play was produced in Belfast at Commission Studios by Colm Flanagan. Episode 2 is entitled Fighter,